Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you today. Obviously, I just want to reference what's happened in Manchester with my colleagues back there and my colleagues in the emergency services. I know that our hearts and thoughts are really with the families of the victims and the emergency services and the NHS staff who actually came in on their days off to help and support them. So that aside, my name's obviously Vanessa Smith, and I actually manage the Yorkshire and Humber Regional Cybercrime Unit. Where does that sit in terms of law enforcement in the UK? We've got the National Cyber Security Centre, which it governs cyber, and how it's managed with partners and law enforcement in the UK. And underneath that, you've got regional specialised units, such as mine, that actually manage the response of forces that they govern. With me, I've got 4 forces that I lead on, together with providing the regional response. So obviously, we were very much with our colleagues in the private health industry, supporting them going through last weekend with the WannaCry virus. So without further ado, just want to look at this map here behind me. There are many maps, really. We could have had Kaspersky. This one is the FireEye cyber threat map. This is actually now what is happening as you sit at this conference. These are live threat. This is a live threat map where we have got targeted attacks between countries. Now, this is an interactive session, and it's going to be quite long if people just sit here. So can you tell me, for those people who can see, why do we think that the west coast of America in California is getting targeted now?
Time of day.
Pardon?
Time of day.
Time of day, yes. And what's in the west coast of America in California? Silicon Valley, yeah, exactly. So we've got where the software is being produced, because really, if I was a state-sponsored hacker from the Chinese government, I would really much prefer to target the actual software as it comes off the actual manufacturers, rather than actually get the end user. So now we've got Central North America being attacked. Again, this isn't a geography lesson, folks, but it just gives you an idea internationally why the people are getting attacked and by whom. So this is slightly different. This is in Virginia. What's the reason why Virginia is getting attacked?
Langley.
Pardon?
Langley.
Langley, yes. It's the home of the FBI. So these aren't random attacks here. And it was only about, perhaps before Christmas, I wanted to know why. I didn't understand why the Philippines were getting attacked. And do we know why the Philippines were getting attacked? It's Barclays Bank. That's where they have the call centres. I didn't know that. And in certain times of day, you've got India being attacked as well. So you can go onto these websites. Kaspersky is another one. Norse Mapping is a particular favourite of mine, and it gives you the top 5 countries who are a victim of cybercrime and also retaliating. We do know that when Obama met the Chinese president, they said, please stop attacking us, because this is what's happening all the time. We'll just go back to our presentation, if you don't mind. Does that surprise anyone? Yeah. So, what is cybercrime? Over to you. What is cybercrime? Come on, anybody? This is going to be a really long presentation. I've only got so many minutes left. Go on. Think of a crime. Any crime? Phishing. Phishing, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Any more? Fraud, that's a biggie. Now, these crimes have always happened, haven't they, like fraud, but it's just enabled, unfortunately, by the internet. Anybody else? Anybody heard of theft? Yeah, theft, exactly, plain old theft. So we've got blackmail, extortion. The list could go on, couldn't it? So blackmail, theft. We've got computer hacking. Well, really, that's pure cybercrime when you need one computer to commit the crime on another computer. So we've got child abusive images. Unfortunately, that has just absolutely gone ballistic. We have got sex offenders now sending and swapping and exchanging child abusive images, sometimes live abusive images in all parts of the world. And that is a huge challenge for law enforcement and partner agencies. We've also got assault. Well, how can you assault me if it's on a computer? Well, I can arrange to meet you at a park, and that's helped arrange to get you at that particular point, and that's facilitated the crime, so I can rob you, assault you, or do whatever. Harassment, we've got cyber stalking, trolling, etc. These are all crimes that can be committed both in person, but unfortunately they've now adapted to go onto the internet. So once when you had a child being bullied by one-on-one, it's now enabled to be literally go to hundreds of thousands. And of course fraud as mentioned. So who are the attackers? Anybody? Who are the attackers? Are they, kids in hoodies in a corner with binary numbers? Looking all Matrix-like. Who are they?
Organised crime.
Organised crime, exactly, yeah? Nation-sponsored, absolutely. Yeah, I've alluded to the Chinese government who have got thousands of state-sponsored hackers. Anyone else? Oh, it's a tough audience, this. Terrorists, exactly, terrorists, yeah. Yeah. So let me go through these because they are categorised quite clearly, really. So we've got criminals who wish to make money through fraud or sale of information. There is going to be a key theme going through my presentation. It will be forget about the money that's been extorted. It is all about data, information that you hold on someone. So, for example, if I was to extort, and I don't, £10,000 off this lady at the front, would that be more valuable than taking 10,000 contacts off your database? Which would be more lucrative? And look at it as a business, because this is a business, folks. It's the contacts, isn't it? Because £10,000 is gone. But get those contacts, and I can multiply, and put a couple of notes at the side of that. I can use it for passports, fraud, loans, the works, and identity fraud. It's huge. So it's all about the data. That's what they want, not about the money necessarily. Then you've got industrial competitors and foreign intelligence services. Those are common garden spies. We've always had them, haven't we? As long as we've had wars, we've had spies. But you know something now? We can do this on the internet and we can hack into them. But you've also, wouldn't it be great if I was working for, say, for example, Google, and I wanted to know what Apple, the new product Apple were coming out with. So we're going to have that all the time. And then you've got the other variety, which people find it difficult to get their heads round. You've got hackers who actually just enjoy hacking. They hack because of the challenge of it. The average age, according to Action Fraud, who are the main repositories of reports of cybercrime in the UK, is 17 years old. My team have arrested a 13-year-old 2 months ago for an international hack, 13 years old. Linking on to what Mr. Campbell has said about mental health, that child was partly autistic and is going to be referred and mentored and out of the system. So they come from the criminal justice system and they get that help and support. But that doesn't help the people that the person's hacked and the information that's been given out. So there is a correlation between hackers potentially and mental health. But you have to have a certain type of mindset to be a coder. Then you've got hacktivists who wish to attack companies for ideological reasons. Have we all heard of, let's see, Anonymous? Yeah, with the mass. I was drafted in to lead an investigation, or shall we say a response, into a police force in the UK. They were basically told that if they didn't change their homelessness policy by the 14th of April, we will take down that police force. Now, that was a major police force in the UK. Now, that is a real present threat. As it happened, through various investigations, we identified that it wasn't the real anonymous. But you know something, all those resources, had we not the specialist involved, it could have, rather than putting literally lots of money, times and resources on it, we're able to give it the threat, the level it deserved. But you know, if it was the real anonymous, they could have taken down that server. But that led to the creation of a cyber incident response plan a little bit more coherently, which we'll go on to. Then you've got employees deliberately or by error that they also are responsible for hacking into their own companies. Now, am I suggesting that everybody that works for you and with you are criminals or hackers? No, I'm not. What I'm saying, because there's a lack of training, education and awareness about cyber and this mystique that you do need to be Stephen Hawking to understand it, then unfortunately you get people who are clicking on emails because simply when they get a phishing email, as this gentleman has mentioned, and there's an attachment, you click onto it because you know something, it's told me I've won a prize. You know something, I never entered it, but you know I'll click on it anyway. And that's got that malware. We had a case only last month where it was a head of an educational establishment, clicked on a link, and thought, oh, it doesn't take me anywhere, thought nothing of it. A virus had gone into the computer and basically gone into their 497 contacts and sent the 497 contacts phishing emails, and it just went and it propagated itself. And that was just one person, and part of their responsibility was IT. So out of those 5 different attackers, who poses the greater risk? Is it the criminals, the spies, the kids who just want, you know, hacking for the enjoyment of it, the hacktivists, or the employees? Employees? Do we all think that? Yeah, it is. It's the employees. So you know something, you don't have to be Stephen Hawking to understand it. You just need to empower your employees. So when I talk about later on about creating policies and things, I'm brilliant at doing policies. I'm sure we all are, aren't we? But you know something, do the people that they're supposed to understand it, do understand it, and do they implement it? So the cost of cyber in the UK, it's a tier 1 threat to the UK infrastructure alongside terrorism. So you've got tier 1 threat, which is the government's threat assessment, and terrorism is alongside cyber. The cost of the UK economy in 2016 alone was £34 billion, but that's only guesstimates because there's a severe lack of underreporting. More crimes occur online than offline. That shouldn't surprise anybody, surely. Then we've got £47.2 billion was spent online. Now, given what I mentioned before about the attackers, why have I put that in this slide? Why am I emphasising £47.2 billion was spent online? Think about the attacker. Where would you want to go then? Exactly. So you see that there's more crimes happening online than offline. And then you see this £47.2 billion was spent online. Do you see, if you are a criminal, where you would go? Think of it as a business. If you were a criminal and you were wanting to do this, you would move into online because that's where the money is. That's where people are spending their cash, their credit cards and their data. It's just obviously just joining those dots, and it's quite straightforward, isn't it, when you think about it? Then you've got the projected costs as $2 trillion by 2019. That is quite extraordinary. So, traditional crime versus cybercrime. I think it's quite good now just to have a think about the different approaches, the modus operandi, and the differences between traditional crime and cybercrime. So work with me, folks. This is interactive again. Also, I don't want to be breaking out into song. Nobody needs to hear that. So, traditional crime. If I wanted, say, for example, to rob a bank, what would I need? I need a disguise, yeah? I'd have clothes, masks and things, yeah? A gun, yeah, I'd need a weapon, thank you. Anything else?
A bank.
A bank, I'd need a location, need to recreate. I'd need a key, potentially, yeah? Fast car, yeah? Do you know, we're all unnervingly very good at this, by the way. Just thought I'd mention this. But anyway, so we're all really good at this. We've got as associates, we've got the location, we've got the equipment, we've got everything, haven't we? So this has been a very successful robbery. We've gone in and we've got all the money. But you know something, we left a lot of the money behind because we could only fit it into this lorry. But then obviously we've all seen the cop shows, somebody spends the money and somebody else also tells the police. What type of evidence could you have left there? Fingerprints, DNA, yeah? CCTV, yeah? Witnesses. And somebody else has ratted me out and told us all, you know, about everything. So that's there. So that's quite simple. So let's fast forward now to the crime being committed by a cyber attacker. The cyber attacker here, do I need to be in the same country to commit that crime? Do I need to have an associate? Do I need to have anything more than a computer and access to the internet? So what you've got here is low risk and high rewards. Whereas if you were a traditional crime, it would be high risk of getting caught with low rewards because I can actually attack multiple banks at the same time. So moving forward then, the cyber attacks on business. Talk always gets mentioned because let's think about the lessons learned from Talk. If you were the CEO or a leader within your organisation, think to yourself, am I that person who is going to stand before the BBC or the media to actually present a coherent message of reassurance to my customers and the public? Because if you are, you need to know this stuff. Because if you don't know it, you're going to look very foolish and unfortunately it'll harm your business. What happened with the CEO there, they weren't briefed enough, they went to the media, said lots of things that weren't exactly truthful, not because you were lying, it was because you were given misinformation, didn't look confident, didn't reassure the business. And what's happened to Talk now? Where's the shares and where's the customers? So your initial response to a cyber event is critical, especially when you're looking at the WannaCry virus. You could be that person. Aberdeen Council, I could have gone on and on and on. Aberdeen Council, they were hacked. For 3 days on their website, in big bold print, was security stupidity. Now, what would happen to your business or your website if that was on? The damage that would mean to your companies and organisations would be very difficult to come back. We've got 1 billion user accounts from Yahoo that may have been stolen. They don't know, it could be more. We've got Chrysler, they were hacked, their onboard computers, in fact their cars, 1.4 million data was stolen. I could go on and on and on. I could mention Google last week, but we get the drift. But what I will mention here is about Ashley Madison. They were hacked. We all know that was a dating website for married people. But what people don't say is people lost their lives, they committed suicide, and they attempted to kill themselves because they were afraid of exposure. And when people say to me there are no deaths caused by cyber, we think about what could have happened to the NHS in both of our countries. Think about what is happening on a minute-by-minute basis with our children who are getting bullied, and also the extortion that's held elsewhere. So the types of attacks, I could have gone on and on and on about the attacks, but I've just picked out some here. This is a denial of distributed attack, so it's a DDoS attack. At the top, we've got the attacker who has then infiltrated these particular servers. Within the servers, they've perhaps got malicious software being delivered to them, and that's being delivered to them via, say, for example, an attachment they've clicked onto. At that point, one point in time, they will use that software that's embedded in those computers and use that power to actually flood a particular website to take it down. So we've got multiple systems are flooded, causing that website to close down and perhaps have something painted on it. Then you've got then we've got the aim of it is to prevent the users accessing the system, but the objective is to disrupt the website and extort money. Because let's remember, folks, these are common garden criminals. So the top countries most victims of this type of attack this year alone, and we're only talking May, is Holland and Great Britain. South Korea tops the list of command and control servers, followed by the US and Holland and China. So those should be no surprise to you there. Then we've got brute force attacks. I put this person in a mask purposely to put them where they need to be. These aren't, hidden mythical people. These are common garden criminals who have just adopted the internet to exploit the likes of you and me. So brute force attacks, what is it? It's a software and algorithm which is written to attack a system. It seeks out a vulnerability within the system, throws lots of different passwords at the system so it can break it, so it can get in, find your passwords and moving on. And partly it does by social media. Now, social engineering is a talk in itself, but I'll be very brief with this. What social engineering is, there's many different types of attack, but think about a traditional crime. If somebody wanted to defraud you, if somebody perhaps phoned you up, said you were from an IT company or a bank, a building society, they would get your favour, get information, then take the money from you. This is no different. The first stage is information gathering. The second stage is development of the relationship. The third stage is exploitation of the relationship. And then stage 4 is deal done. They've got your information. The objective is achieved. The phishing is the number one, absolutely the number one way that these people will get into your systems. It doesn't matter what really IT that you've got. You cannot stop a phishing email coming in and then your user clicking onto it. If so, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And if you are not training and giving education awareness to your staff, whoever uses the system, then they will get into your system and infiltrate it. You've got pretexting. What's this? Pretexting is where I phone up and say, I'm from the IT company, your server's been damaged or your router's been damaged. Okay, but you need to give me your password and then I can help you. Baiting's quite strong on the Facebook and other areas. It's where, something, you've won a prize, but to get that prize, you need to give me some information about yourselves. So I think we all know now, this may be ransomware, yeah? We all, unfortunately, with WannaCry, have done our own particular research on ransomware. But basically, it's malware that limits or prevents the users accessing their own data. How is it delivered? Well, it's delivered potentially through your phishing emails, and you'd never know that it was there. There is a demand for payment for the data. There are remedies to this. Is back up your data. Seems very straightforward. Update your software, but back up your data and don't pay the criminals. People say to me, yeah, but I need to pay them because it's got all the detail on it. And then when they've paid them, I didn't get my details. And I've sort of said, look, you are dealing with criminals. They've got no regard to the Consumer Credit Act. You are dealing with criminals. They're dishonest. By very nature, they will not, deliver a service level agreement to you. And a lot of the time, the payment, if you do make a payment, it's not recovered. So mandate fraud is huge. Have you heard of mandate fraud or payment diversion fraud? No? If you don't know about it, please do a bit of research on it. What it is It's where an employee is deceived into changing a payment mandate to an organisation for regular payments are made to. So if I've got a regular payment going out to a particular company, and then I get an email purporting to be from my boss saying that actually the bank has changed and this is the account you need to be paid into, quite simply, and the purport to be from my boss, then unfortunately I've known £500,000 go out. So if you don't have those checks and balances within your organisations, believe you and me, this is prevalent. In 2016, there was a 71% increase in reports, which equated to over £226 million that have been lost. And 36% of the victims said there was a severe impact on the business. If you're a small, medium enterprise, not getting payment for something is going to really harm you. So insider threat management. Insider threat management, do we now believe there is a difference between professional and personal life? Do we? Talk to me, folks. Do we? Right, yeah, exactly. I think, for my personal opinion now, is that when we get somebody who is going to speak before you, like myself, or a new person that you're going to meet, or in a job interview, how many of your staff don't think that they're going to be Googled or searched on social media? I had to tell someone the day before I arrived in Ireland that you have failed your vetting. You'd been offered the job, but you failed the vetting with the police. Why have you failed your vetting? Because you put something on social media that was not conducive to law enforcement, shall we say. And unfortunately, they did lie to me to say that they put it on, so that really sealed it for me. So, how much information is about you online? Have you Googled yourself? Because when I set up the West Yorkshire Cybercrime Unit, I found within 24 hours my personal email address and my old personal but correct password is now on a hacker's website. If you put your head above the parapet with any organisation and you put it on the website, you need to be really switched on about your security settings, what's put on your web page, because the two merge. If that's you in the centre, you've got your work, your partner, your hobbies, your address. So I had some very senior people come through my door and say, "You'll never find anything about me, Vanessa." You know, within 5 minutes, yes, I did. And I found all this information out because your 14-year-old daughter's so very proud of you being a senior police officer. They've told everybody. So when I go back to the weakest link could be your family or friends. So please make sure your security settings are there. And this is a bit like for detect and deter. Here you've got very freely available software that is GamFeed is one, EchoSec is another. You could put a geographical virtual circle using this software around this particular hotel. Click a button and get all the tweets that everybody's tweeted. We've also got the photographs as well. And in a hotel, that can be quite compromising, but you've got all this here at your fingertips. So what I would say, and then what I'm going to close on, I'm just going to rattle through this, is the 10 steps to cybersecurity. These have all been approved by the UK government and obviously internationally. If you follow one of these, you will help to protect your business and your company being a victim of a threat. So, top of it is training, education, awareness. If you do not have this right from the ground upwards, you will be a victim of continued cyber attacks. Incident management plan. Establish an incident plan including a disaster recovery capability. Do we have asset registers? And if they are, do we have cyber on it? And if you've got cyber as low, check it out. Why is it low? Or why is it high? And what we're doing about it? Who ultimately, within your organisation, is going to step forward to the BBC and Sky News and say, by the way, this is what we're going to be doing with a degree of confidence? They will need to be owning this, because it's something that people like myself have been championing for years. Information risk management, establish effective governance structure. Going back, this has got to come from the top right the way through to the bottom. When I've spoken to IT professionals in the UK, there has not been a recognition, as there should be, of IT. Because of WannaCry, there is. So I'm now we're pushing through an open door, I hope. But the senior board need to engage with this and ask those questions. Monitoring. Establish a monitoring strategy and produce supporting policies. Analyse unusual activity. What is the point of waiting for somebody to burgle you? Check the CCTV out. You've had it installed for 24/7. Check it out. So by that means, check your systems out, who's been attacking you, how they've been attacking you, so that you can then empower your staff to put patches on and get the software that's up to date. Removable media controls. Produce a policy to control removable media controls. Got USB sticks here. If I wanted to go into a large corporate organisation, I would Google them first, find out who the CEO is, or somebody that's never going to meet me, and I'd come into reception and say, oh, it's Vanessa Smith, I've come to see this chief executive. All right, take a seat. So I'll take a seat, and then what I'll do is say, excuse me, can I go to the bathroom, please? Yes, you'll just have to go through there unescorted. I'll go into the bathroom, I'll leave a very nice shiny USB stick there, full of malware, and I'll leave, and I'll walk out the reception. And then what will happen is somebody will come along, see this lovely, nice, shiny USB stick, thinking, oh gosh, I want to find the owner of this, and then plug it into your systems. And if they're not encrypted, your systems, then what that will do is simply infect it. So do you see what I'm getting at? This is about social engineering and a form of it. So manage your user privileges. If I used to work in finance and I'd got all these privileges and I can access all areas and practically God, but then for some reason I go into the canteen because I go to the canteen to work, why isn't my user privileges being taken? Because I'm now fed up, I'm a disgruntled employee, and now I want to share and sell that data and cause problems. So keep up your user privileges. It's a need to know, not nice to know. And secure configuration, apply patches. We know with WannaCry, if you patch the patches up, then you will guard against being a victim of crime. What I would say on this is how it works. If you report a cyber incident to the police then send it up to the National Cyber Security Centre that sends it internationally, and it goes back to the software company. The software company say, right, okay, this is an issue. They create a remedy. The remedy then gets sent to you in the form of a patch. So you just see by reporting it full circle how it will help. And malware protection. Just produce relevant policies to establish anti-malware. And network security. Protect your networks against external attacks. Ensure that you know what those attacks will look like in terms of the perimeter. If you're wanting to look at the M1 and see all the traffic up and down, if it's too busy, then you might want to look at a smaller road inward. What I mean by that is you can't look at everything that's trying to attack you, but at least you can look at things that have perhaps penetrated the first wall. And home mobile working. We know about home mobile working now, don't we, folks? It's very difficult, but we need to be sort of addressing how people are attaching themselves to the internet, what training and awareness we're giving them. We know that it's fantastic to be able to work mobile, but is that at the expense of the organisation? And what we've got in the UK, I don't think you've got it here, is a cyber information sharing partnership. This is an online platform supported by the government whereby it's like a shop watch. It shares intelligence and information about current threat, risk and harm of cyber attacks. So when WannaCry broke, the people that were members of this and business in the public sector got to know about it firsthand and got the information so that they were helped to guard themselves against it. If you are a member of, if you are to be a member of that, you've got to be a UK registered company and have somebody like me sponsor you. I will sponsor you. My details will be at reception. I'm not going to go any further, but firstly, I'd just like to say thank you again for this opportunity. It really is very apt given the WannaCry virus, but this isn't new. This will continue to happen, and please just support your staff and its training awareness. That's all I ask. Thank you ever so much for your time.